Oh, this is
All
going to be a
right, you
good one.
ready to
All
rock
right.
and roll?
Yeah, let's get everybody on. Please let us know what city, what state, what country you're in. We've got my friend, now longtime friend, I feel like.
Longtime friend at this point.
Yeah, yeah. Brett Baker.
What's
This
up,
is a
man?
cool one for me because
Yeah,
I watched you start it, right? And then you're like,
yeah.
hold my beer, right? Hold my coffee, right? Which was cool.
Well,
It's like you called it. And it's really nice to see that you tweaked some things,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
after you made those tweaks, you freaking blew up, dude. And
Well, I think it's all about
that's what
learning. It's all about learning what YouTube likes, right? And I think it's funny because I came into this with such a crazy weird expectation of what I thought the algorithm wanted. And everything I said was like, oh, it's the algorithm. Oh, we got to do this for the algorithm. Well, you need to just stop
Mhm.
right there and replace the word algorithm with audience
With
and
people.
where
People.
people because ultimately you're not targeting with YouTube. Everybody thinks that you're targeting the algorithm. You're not targeting an algorithm. You are targeting people. Like you are trying to attract people. And where it's funny because I mean I did YouTube with real estate when I was doing a ton of real estate. I did a bunch with YouTube, and most people, most agents approach YouTube the wrong way. I would be willing to say that most people that do anything with YouTube approach it the wrong way, right? But agents specifically use it like a digital billboard. And they post like their latest listings or market updates or generic like tips and tricks, right? But here's the
Mm,
problem. Nobody's searching for that content. So
it's true.
if you want to think like if you want to think like your audience will think about your own habits, right? When was the last
Mhm.
time you went on YouTube and searched for like a real estate market update in Malibu? Probably been a
Very,
while, right?
very rarely. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. No one really searches for that topic. So what I've discovered over now coming up on 20,000 subscribers in a matter of a few months is
What's
that
your channel? What's your channel so I can put
we
it?
changed the channel name. This is how
That's how I
wild
couldn't
this is,
find it.
Tristan. Yeah. So it's
Oh,
now cleared to adventure.
okay.
Um, and we changed it. We changed it recently because we actually wanted to go broader. When I started it, it was Adventure Alaska. I have a hoodie on.
Yep.
It started with Adventure Alaska because all of my flying adventures were up here in Alaska. And then I did that
Yep.
whole migration south. And dude, I picked up, my channel blew up on that trip. And I discovered a lot on that trip. So here,
That was
I'm going to give you, what's that?
that's when you were texting me and saying, "Hey man,
Yeah.
this one blew up," right?
Yeah. Well, because I learned that there are three things, there's really three things you can do on YouTube to actually get retention, which is what's important. Okay. So subscribers, they help, right? They help get you in front of people easier. If we want to talk about the algorithm for one moment, if you have a lot of subscribers, you're going to be placed in front of more people via the algorithm. Just bottom line. But in 2025, subscriber count really doesn't matter that much. What matters is retention. And there's three ways to get it. So here's the first. The first
Mhm.
thing you can do with a YouTube video, if you want to get people to watch it, actually watch it, answer a question. So the easiest way to get discovered is by actually using what's called YouTube search functionality, which is where if you answer questions that are common in your area. So let me give you an example for real estate, right? Where's the best sushi in Malibu? People search for that kind of stuff because when people move to an area, they want to feel like a local. So in my area, the number one search in my area, believe it or not, is how quickly do they clear the roads after a snowstorm? Alaska's weird, man.
That's a good one, dude.
Right?
So hold on. Let me set the
Yeah.
tone on this one really
Yeah.
quick so people understand where you're going with this first. Number one thing that I want everyone to do is take notes. That's number one. Number two,
Yeah.
Um, this is recorded, so you can go
Yeah.
back and watch it. It's on our Lab Code Agents channel. We teamed up with Social Genius on this one because Brett did such a good job. We wanted to bring both groups together. Number three, here's the important one. As you're watching, and listening, think of what you do and love on the side. And
Right.
this is where I loved what Brett, see, the thing is, Brett knew this a long time ago. He knew he wanted to do this, right? It
Yeah,
just,
I
it
did.
was, it took a while. It's like, okay,
Yeah. You
okay, I
motivated me.
I think, well, dude, you could look at who doesn't want to watch what you do. I watch your videos. That's why when I went to find you, I think it was 2 days ago, I was like,
Yeah.
where's his channel? What happened to
Yeah.
his channel?
Changed the name.
Yeah.
We
Uh, how,
rebranded.
how did you change your channel? And then we'll go back to you. How did you do it?
Um, you mean like how did I change it as far as videos and stuff like that to get my spike?
No,
Or
how
did I
did
just change the
you
channel name?
the channel name? How easy was that? Because I had a couple
Oh, it was
people ask.
cake. The problem is you got to do it all at once. You can't. So the irony in this is I was literally hacked the day before. So when you start getting a lot of subscribers and you start getting, I'm the fastest growing aviation YouTube channel on the platform right now. And when you start getting into that position, you start becoming kind of vulnerable. And so I actually got hacked the day before, and they actually changed a bunch of stuff. And I was like, well, it's time to just go full send on this. And so I was actually planning on doing it a little bit later. But what I did was I created a video that basically announced the name change. And the moment that video hit, I switched everything all at once. And how easy was it? I mean, it was making toast this morning was more challenging than actually switching my channel name. But I have a 2-year-old, so that counts for something.
Melissa,
But seriously,
you go and change it on the back end on the settings. It's
yeah,
fairly
it's pretty easy. Just make sure you have everything in line when you do it. Like I had to change my intro, I had to change my trailer, I had to do a lot of stuff, and so it took a little bit more. Um, but if you have an audience, explain to your audience what you're doing. Otherwise, I mean, that's pretty much anywhere in real estate or anywhere in YouTube or anything you do with advertising. Make sure you tell your audience what you're doing because they might get confused, like you did.
yeah.
But if it were me, do you want me to talk about how I took
Yeah,
off?
but first, I want for people to notice one thing because I want people to start thinking, well, it's not always, in some cases it is for some of you, but it's not always about real estate. If it is
Right,
awesome, right, stick to that. But
right.
chances are much higher that it's going to be something along the lines of what Brett did. Brett loves flying.
Yep.
He he has a great personality, and once you start watching, you want to watch some more. He's a funny guy in a good
Well,
way.
you
That's
have
right.
fun
He
with it.
made me laugh. So,
Well, be
tell me,
yourself is the number one thing.
yes, tell me now first, and then you can go into the everywhere you
Yeah,
wanted to go to. Tell me how you decided to pick this because you also have other cool things that you've done. Why
yeah.
pick?
So there was some strategy behind this. It's funny because so I flew corporate aviation for a long time before I got into air traffic, and then I was an air traffic controller, and then I got into real estate. I left a $250,000 career as an air traffic controller, started a real estate company. We blew up, sold it, and then I've kind of done it. A bunch of other stuff. I own a bunch of other companies, but the idea was always like, how can I fly and make money without having to fly for the airlines or without having to fly corporate or without having to basically waste my entire summer flying for some charter service. I always thought about like, how can I bring more people into aviation and how can I actually get paid for that? And so this was one day I kind of discovered that my true passion in life is aviation. Always has been, always will be. And my true passion lies in how do I get more people interested in aviation? Because if I'm this little positive megaphone out there yelling about how awesome aviation is, and I get a whole bunch of other little positive megaphones running around, we have such an easier time keeping general aviation alive, which is always a threat. And if you're ever worried about what happens with airlines, you should start with general aviation because it doesn't start at the top and work its way down. Like it doesn't start with the airlines and come down to GA. It starts down at the bottom where people are learning to fly and getting into aviation, and then it builds up to the airlines. So if you want to fix up here with the airlines, you start down here. And the way you start down here is getting more people involved in aviation. So
Okay.
that's been my passion. And so I thought about it like, okay, I live in what's considered pilot paradise. Alaska is like the mecca of aviation. If you want to go fly into the middle of nowhere in a float plane, Brad, we've got you. You want to go fly into a gravel bar in the middle of nowhere and catch fish? Cool, you can do that here. It's kind of the Wild West when it comes to flying up here. And so
Yeah.
people want to see that. And that actually, it was you that got me started with wanting to actually kind of pursue this avenue, because you and I were chatting. I think you and I were chatting at lunch when I bought my helicopter and I like flew it up and you and I had lunch. You're like,
The
dude, you
black
should
one.
totally film that. I'm like,
Yes.
I'm like, what? I'm like, Tristan, who the would watch that? And you're
Everyone,
like, I would.
apparently, everyone.
And apparently, 18,687 people tend to like that. So it
And
grew
hold
quickly.
on, that 18,000, and then I want to go over
Yeah.
into what you said, which is you want
How to grow.
people answer specific questions, right? But
Yeah.
first, you were, I think it was 4 months ago, 5 months ago, and so not that
4.
long, right? Four, okay.
Mm,
4 months ago, you you changed everything. You're
very much
like,
so.
let's just go all in, and then
Yeah.
everyone saw the growth.
Yeah.
Were you like at about 1,000, two
1,000.
thousand? Okay,
1,000.
1,000, and then it just started. It just started growing. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
crap.
Yep.
So take us through that, because a lot of
Sure.
us are either stuck, have stopped using our YouTube channels, or are
Yeah.
using them and just nothing is happening.
Right. So this goes to my 3 things that you can do to get people to watch your videos. So here's what happened to me. If you watch some of my first videos, um, it's very they were more technical, and they were more just like, look at me fly around and look at me do cool stuff. There was no meat behind that. There was no story behind that. And one of the things that I learned really quickly was that there are 3 things you can do to get someone to watch your video. You answer a question that they want to know, and that puts you in search, or you end up in browse. And browse is actually where I get 95% of my traffic, which means the YouTube goes, hey, you watched this video. What about this one? And then I get pulled in on that one. The way that you get into that is you do 2 things. You either tell a story, which is what I did, or you sell a product the right way. And this is where real estate comes in. I'll come to that one in a minute. But I'm going to start with me and what I did. I love storytelling. For me, being a marketer and growing up in marketing, telling a story is what captivates people. And if you can put a story around something and run with it, more people are going to watch that. So what I decided to do, I did a southbound migration down into the lower 48. And I decided to take an entirely different approach, because at the time, the way that I got into that was I analyzed, you're sitting down for this one, I'm a freak. So I watched, you not, about 6,000 YouTube videos in my niche. And I have a spreadsheet on every single one of them. So like I have a spreadsheet, and on that spreadsheet, I have what was the video title, who did it, how many views did they get, what was the outlier score. So an outlier score is basically how high above all the other videos they did, how high above was that. There's tools to show you that. But what was their intro like? What was the actual meat of the video about, and where was their drop off? And you can see all of that with spy tools and what have you. I analyzed about 6,000 videos, and I figured out in my niche, this is what people want. They want storytelling and they want adventure. Boy, did I give it to them.
You
So
did.
that is the entire way that I grew so quickly. I just changed my methodology, and I just started telling the story, not just flying there, not just adventuring there, but giving the story behind it. So how do you translate that? Translate that into like real estate, right? Okay,
Yeah.
what's the history of the area? So I lived in Eastern Washington for like a long time. Manhattan Project, baby. What's the story of the area? Well, I mean, these houses were built by the government. They were for officers and they were for enlisted people. This is back when it was militarized. Like, this is the Manhattan Project. How many reactors did you have there? What did they create? You have history in your town.
Yeah.
Tell the story of your town. It doesn't matter where you are. Tell the story of it. What crazy event happened there? Tell that story. So that's the storytelling aspect. And that's how I blew up. I blew up because I say blew up. People look at it and they go, dude, you have like 18,000 subs. Yeah, but my retention rate is 86%. So 86% of people that start my video watch the end of it, which is actually where it matters.
That's the number one metric, by the way.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I don't what tools do you use? I use TubeBuddy and vidIQ. Do you have one that you use?
I use
Yeah,
TubeBuddy and vidIQ and
yeah.
Morning Fame.
Oh,
Hold
okay.
on. I'll put up Morning Fame for
Yeah, please
you.
do.
Morning, it's morning FA dot ME.
Huh.
That's the
I
difference.
haven't used that one. I
I
like
haven't,
vidIQ because you can generate ideas. So it'll start paying attention to like you put all your competitors in there and you put your stuff in there, and it will literally give you ideas of what's going to be actually like what good ideas are out there. Sorry,
I like
Nicole put comment. She goes, well, how many people are behind your video productions? So
great
it started
question.
with me. So I was filming, I was editing, I was doing the whole nine yards because I like editing videos. The problem is when you're pumping out a video a week and you have 4 terabytes worth of data from a trip, very, very tough to do that. So what we did instead was I hired an editor. And then since then, I have multiple editors and we actually edit for other people's YouTube channels as well. That's something we recently started doing because other creators are like, dude, how do we get your quality? And it's like, I mean, I've got editors for that. So we found a niche, we launched a company on it. And so we're actually doing full scale here very soon. Um, but I want to talk real quick about the third option. So we have tell a story, right? We have answer a question, and now there's the third one. And the third one is sell a product the right way. Now, I think if I say that, a lot of agents are going to be like, sell a product, newest listings. No, that's not what I'm saying. Feature the nicest, most expensive homes in your town. Like go through instead of like doing some boring house, do like the nicest one you can get into and video it. Talk to the agent beforehand and be like, I am running a production on this and I want to video it and I want to just help you promote it. And they'll be like, okay. Luxury sells. Even if viewers can't afford the house, they're still going to watch it. If you go on and you look, there's like 3 agents that literally travel the nation and they do this kind of video and they get hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah.
So start in your neighborhood and start doing that in your area. Then let's flip that. Do the opposite. Highlight the absolute worst, most rundown properties in the area because people like a good like before and after story. So run with that. And then the
That
third
is,
one is highlight unique or weird homes. Like if you've got one that's like a spaceship, video that. There's a lot of views in that. Does that help a little bit with real estate side? I'm trying to tie it back in.
it does a lot, man,
uh,
because I think one thing we forget is that it's not about us going and talking about the listing that we just got, because there's just a lot of
right.
that. We need to push through the crowd, even though video tours do exceedingly well, right? Those do very well.
Yeah.
But I think what we want to be known as agents is that brand behind the story that's being told, and then you fill in the end, right? So for
Yeah.
instance, for Brett is that that brand that is telling the story about adventuring in Alaska, or that
Right.
brand that's telling the story about living in Malibu, right? Jeff's on too, so it would be that brand
What's up, Jeff?
telling the story about the Ozarks, right? So I think
Yep.
just to simplify it in your brain, think of, okay, my brand is telling the story of what? And then once you figure that part out, then you go into that second part that Brett was saying, right? Now that you found it, now you start asking specific questions, right? ASQ.
Right. And to show you like the power of that, people are like, okay, well, how do I mean, so we talk search and browse, right? One of the things about YouTube that a lot of people forget, YouTube is owned by Google. It is the second most searched search engine on the planet. So if you would go into Google right now, just open a new browser right now and go type in 3808 East Madison. Don't type any more than that. Scroll down and you're going to find a YouTube video from me like 2 years ago talking about Spencer Raskoff's home. The ex CEO of Zillow. I did an entire video on like how this estimate was way off on his house. This is like way back in the day, but it's still ranked on the first page of Google because I treated YouTube like a search engine. And did you find it? Did it pull up for you?
Yeah, I have it.
So
that's cool.
You can rank. I mean, and that was something totally out of the blue that I did back in the day. But you can just, if you learn how to use YouTube as a search engine, you can actually get placed on the first page of Google with it, which is going to help your website and your business. So,
all right. So
yeah,
now
hit me.
I want to, let's say I'm a real estate agent. I want to start a YouTube channel, but I want to do it well from the beginning,
Yeah.
right? I want to make sure that I'm all in and I start growing gradually, because the number one reason most agents quit is because they don't see the growth, right? They're like, nobody's watching. Why am I even doing this? Right. So where would an agent start with this so that we see the consistent growth?
Sure.
How should we approach this?
Okay, so 3 real tips on that one. First, be yourself. Like if you are not naturally funny, don't try to be funny. I see a lot of people that fake a lot of stuff. That's number one. Just be yourself. Talk the way you would normally talk, because here's the thing. This is nowadays, after COVID, video is now being treated as like a one-on-one meeting. I mean, before you and I actually met in person, Tristan, we did how many videos together? You knew my mannerisms, right? You knew how I used my hands pretty much all the time when I talk. I do that in person. So you get what you get in person on video. If you do that, you're already going to start building that trust. So the goal from number one is build trust, and that's by being yourself. The other thing that you'll find is that production oftentimes kills trust. If you overproduce your videos and you take a lot of you and your personality out of it, it's going to kill the production value of your video because people won't trust it. There's no relatability. You want relatability. So I would start with those 2 things. I would then find a niche that you love. For me, I love aviation. And could I really easily tie that into real estate? Yeah, I could. I could talk about it occasionally. I could talk about aviation properties, and I did a bunch. Not on this channel, but literally aviation properties were my specialty before I exited production again. But that was, you could do all of that through YouTube. If you're like, let's say you're a golf fanatic, go video all the courses in your area. Jeff, are you a golf fanatic? Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Go video all the golf courses in your area.
I live on one. I do it all the time. Oh
See?
yeah.
Perfect. The next thing that I would probably focus on is what are you going to do to retain your audience? Because retention is more important than subscribers. Retention on your videos. Set the intro, set the hook, deliver on the hook, and then wrap it up. Like don't drag out a video just to drag out a video. Set the hook, deliver on the hook, and then go from there. I always try to make sure that my title is reflective of what they're going to see in the video, and I try to give them that within the first minute. First 30 seconds is ideal, but with my audience, I can get away with about a minute before I have to deliver on what the video title actually ties into on that video. And you can very clearly, on my channel, you can see where I did that well and where I failed miserably at it. If you see like low views, because I didn't deliver on that well. So hook the viewers within the first 10 seconds, because you really want that first 30 seconds to just be as high retention as you can get. And then you want to try to keep it as high as you can. What you don't want to see on an analytic chart is a big hockey stick.
You know, the one that performed really well for you, I'm going to put it into the chat.
A giant rock.
Yeah, that was
or my
such a
Trent Palmer
great,
one.
the giant rock.
Which
That was such a great hook. That was a really good hook, man.
that was probably what it didn't show in the video. There is that I almost took a kid out on a moped when I took off because he like everybody knew I was taking off. I made it really clear, and this dude goes ripping across, and I if you saw the whole clip, I actually had to adjust my takeoff angle, and I actually shortened my takeoff because of that by about 400 feet. So it got kind of sketch, kind of fast, and I had to kind of pull that out of the video. But yeah, that video was probably one of my favorite ones to make, to be honest, because I'd always wanted to land there. But the way that I would start is honestly, I would just start. I would find a niche that works for you, and I would just start making content on it. Your first like 4 videos are going to suck. They're going to be awful. Nobody is going to watch them. Just know that ahead of time. I look back on like my first 2 videos and I cringe because my first video was I got lost flying my helicopter in Alaska. And I'm going to tell you right now, I didn't really get lost flying my helicopter. I knew exactly where I was. Went up the wrong canyon, but I knew where I was.
Oh, you're funny.
And it did okay. My next video was actually with my wife in the helicopter, and she's a little nervous on camera sometimes, as you've seen when we've done webinars with her. But my third video had 20,000 views on it. And it was, will my airplane start after a cold winter? And literally, I mean, I left this poor airplane on the side of like the lake. It froze over winter. It was really bad. Cheap airplane, thank God. But I went to go start it in the springtime, and my buddies all made a bet with me. They're like, I bet that airplane doesn't start. I'm like, oh, I'm totally filming this. So I did. I filmed it, and it got 20,000 views. And the comments on that were like, you're an idiot for leaving your airplane out. I can't believe you left that airplane out. What is wrong with you? And it's like, dude, I live in Alaska. There's no way to get it off the beach. Like once it's here, it's done. And everybody does it. So that was really the start. And I realized then there was potential. So what I would tell you is find a niche that you can talk about. If you want to tie it back into real estate, do it. If you're the beach, like I'm going to throw some of my coaching clients out there. So I have a coaching client. They were the Gazzardo team. They're in Discovery Bay, and in Discovery Bay, which is in California, it's a big boating community. And these guys are literally the boating realtors. So they like tour properties using their boat. They go out and they are so ingrained in that boating community, and they made an entire website and Facebook video series out of it. They actually skipped YouTube almost altogether and went straight to Facebook because their audience is there. So if you find that niche, the audience will be there. And your audience doesn't have to be 6 million viewers. You don't have to be the next Ryan Trahan or Mr. Beast. What you need to do is just find a really loyal client and target audience, and you'll do just fine. So,
Question, how do you recommend using text overlay?
I have a love-hate relationship with it. I use it if like on radio, I'll use it. If you can't understand what like a controller is saying or what I'm saying, or through a microphone through my aircraft, I'll use it a little bit then. But for the most part, I really don't use it unless I do like shorts. And for the most part, I don't do shorts at all with my channel. I tried them a little bit. My audience does not like shorts, and they don't really care about TikTok, and they really don't care about Instagram. Mine is all long form YouTube. I just found out what works for me. So I don't really use text overlay all that much.
All right, I like that. And then, Sean, can you please rephrase the question? And then Grant, I think you mean shorts, not sorts.
Yeah, I don't use shorts. I mean, I tried it a little bit for my audience. I like long form, and I can tell you guys exactly why I like long form. I get paid more through monetization on long form. Greater than 8 minutes, I get a mid-roll ad in there, which actually pays the most. So that's and my audience just really loves long form content.
All right, and then Thomas has a good question. Best place other than ChatGPT for getting hooks that work. How do you come up with your hooks?
I come up with my own hooks. So really my thing that I look at the flight, and let's say it was like the giant rock thing. I mean, that was a pretty easy hook. Like I landed somewhere like that. People go, what? You see the picture, the thumbnail matches really the title. The title really goes in and matches the hook. And so I based it all off that photo. I took that photo and went, that's my hook. So that's how I did that one. Most of my hooks, I don't actually use ChatGPT at all. All I do is just look at the video and go, all right. But I know the video I'm going to film for the most part, unless it was that long travel series. I know the video I'm going to film way beforehand. So the video that's launching tomorrow, for example, that's me going around the airport talking about the new airplane that I've actually already bought, but I'm a week behind. So the video is, I'm out looking for a new airplane. Come with me and let me show you my options. And then the video that's going next week is actually what's being filmed this weekend, which is I'm actually flying the new airplane. So
did you sell your helicopter?
I did sell the helicopter. Yeah. And I can't tell you, I have more coming on that because there's another helicopter joining the fleet. But yeah,
all right,
it's about 14 months out.
Yeah. Sean, what % of views turn to clicks to your website? Do you track
I'm going to give you, so Sean, I'm going to give you a different answer. So in one video, I talked about my coffee brand, Adventure Roasters. In every description, I put a link to Adventure Roasters. Every time I launch a new video on my channel, I get 25 to 30 orders on Adventure Roasters. So I can track that. That's where most people end up. If they go to my website, they're going to, I get a pretty good number of clicks to my website, but nothing really on my website outside of coffee does. I have nothing else on there at the moment. So
what's your take on running paid ads in comparison to organic? I know how you
haven't done
feel.
it. I haven't actually run paid ads. I know people that do. I've heard that it can stunt your growth pretty quickly. I don't have enough experience in that to give you paid ads to a YouTube channel. Paid ads on YouTube for real estate, totally different ball of wax. Make sure you have phenomenal production value when you're doing that.
How are your hashtags? Are you using them for YouTube?
I do. So basically, I figure those out for each video. I try to rank for certain things that helps you in search. But since most of my traffic comes in through browse and next up and recommended, the hashtags really don't do a whole lot for me because YouTube does such a great job of promoting my video as is. And you can tell, like I said, when I steer off topic on my channel, it's very apparent. So, yeah.
I love that. All right, last question. If Brett had to start his real estate business, what would be the first big step? And if a video, what niche would he target in a medium metro area?
Food, no questions asked. I'd do as much local mom and pop restaurants as I could. I'd get face to face with the chef. I'd sit down with the chef. I'd have a conversation about the food and why the food is so good. I would make it a perfect series on all the food, all the mom and pop food in that metro area. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I don't care about politics. I don't care about all the other stuff, the market, any of that stuff. Everybody has their opinions on that. The one thing most people can agree on is really good food. And if you put an entire series together on really good food, you're going to get a lot of views on that.
You know, Austin Armstrong just started a food TikTok channel.
Yeah,
Austin's our friend. He's the guy that created Syllabi.
yeah.
Oh, interesting that you say that. Jeff?
Well, that's what I did. I did Spotlight on Tri-Cities back in the day. I mean, it was all on Facebook. But we had a Facebook group with 13 or 14,000 people in it, all talking about food that we set up in all of our videos.
That's a great idea. Jeff needs to start a hot dog and pizza. Best hot dog and pizza to eat at Ozarks. Or best beer. Best beer.
Yeah, best beer. Yeah. People like beer too. I'm telling you. Jeff, you need to jump on that, man.
I'm not lacking content ideas. I'm okay.
Okay, good.
I'm heading to a boat show right now. Speaking of boats, for more content. So yeah.
Nice. All right.
Someone said, what editing software do I use? Oh man,
Yeah.
I bounce around. My editing team uses a mix of DaVinci Resolve, Final Cut Pro, and Adobe After Effects. I'm Adobe Premiere, true and true. But I'm also, again, I'm a freak. And then would I still label my channel as real estate while focusing on food? Absolutely not. 100% no. I wouldn't make my channel anything about real estate. I would make it all about food in the area. And then I'd tie in the fact that I did real estate. That's how I would do it. And it works really well.
All three of us agree on that. Please stick to that.
People don't follow real estate content. You have to step outside of real estate and tie it back in. Unless you're doing crazy tours of houses. That's the one that you can get away with. But otherwise...
Some people do a really good, very few people do a really good job on analyzing the data and going there. Right? Those do well too.
It's very tough. That's a very tough niche. That's a very tough niche.
I agree. I love this. Great conversation.
Write a statement back. So Thomas goes, okay, write a statement for the tie back to real estate from the food. Hey, I'm Brett. As one of the busiest real estate agents in the area, I'm always on the go looking for new restaurants and places to eat. Join me on this journey where we check out the top restaurants in the area. Let's go.
Let me add to that. Take out the hi, I'm Brett, and say, hi, I'm a X whatever city. I'm a Lake of the Ozarks foodie. I'm a St. Louis foodie. I'm a Malibu foodie, because that's what's going to make people say, ooh, my town. They don't care.
You cut off, Jeff.
They don't care who Jeff is. They don't care who Brett is. And that's what I would focus on.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I will say what I learned out of doing, so I do my intro where, hey, I'm Brett. I always do that. And I'm going to tell you right now, it's weird how people latch on. I've met people in the field now, and people now are like, hey, you're Brett. I'm like, oh,
you know who does that? Brett, who does that very, very well? Mel Robbins. Hey, it's your friend Mel, right? That's what she does. And it's like everybody remembers her, right? Yeah. That's her intro. So yeah, it could be, listen, if that's you and you want to go with that, great. But just jump into the other part, just like Brett and Jeff said.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you're in a high military area, go ahead.
Brett, how do people reach you?
Easiest way is through probably at this point Facebook. so follow me on Facebook and you can send me a message and I'm happy to help out. That's the easiest way. We'll be launching our editing service. We're really doing more of like the adventure productions. That's really our style. But we are working a little bit into real estate. So not there yet. High military area. I knew someone would key that up. If you live in a high military area, think about why people are coming to your area. They're relocating, and most of the time they don't know anything about your area. So the first thing that happens when someone says, hey, we're relocating, they go home after the day like, hey, we're relocating. Where are we going? Oh, we're going to Elmendorf in Anchorage. First thing, if they have family, the first thing that the spouse is going to do is start searching immediately for schools in the area, things to do in the area, schools in the area. If you have a military base in your area and you're not doing YouTube videos on relocating into your area and all the stuff to do around there, targeting specifically families, you are missing out on probably the biggest thing you could possibly do.
Agreed. All right, I did put up my email there. If you have questions about how to reach Brett, how to talk to Jeff or myself, go ahead.
Tristan. Real quick, Brett, I want to connect with you offline and challenge you on shorts. I think you could 10x your subs with shorts. But I want to talk to you about something else. So let's connect offline.
Yeah, absolutely. Tristan, make sure Jeff gets my number.
Thank you, both of you. Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Brett.
See you guys.
Bye.